If you'd like to enjoy a live show with award-winning performers in an intimate setting, you'll want to hear today's episode recorded by phone on the Wine Road.
Well, after the show, you're going to be hanging out with us on the front porch, probably having cigars and drinking wine and maybe passing around a guitar, And that's just not the norm for any performance that you usually go to.
But to the wrong side of the tracks is in your blood, and that's a fact.
He's singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, who is coming back to Northern California for SIP, Songwriters in Paradise. You may have caught him on my podcast last year, and it's a real pleasure to catch up with him again to chat about the upcoming shows in Napa very soon, April 18th through 21st, then Healdsburg, Sonoma County, July 23rd through 28th, at special wineries in each location. On the Wine Road is brought to you by Sonoma Clean Power. For those of you in the area, learn how your actions can make a greater impact with clean, renewable energy at poweringeverydaymoments.org. That's poweringeverydaymoments.org.
As your public power provider, we're working toward a clean energy future for our families, teammates, neighbors, and those we have not yet met. So let's come together. Join us on the clean energy journey, because the best is yet to come. Learn how your actions can make an even greater impact at poweringeverydaymoments.org. Sonoma Clean Power, powering moments that matter.
Y'all give it up for Levi down there. Come on. Woo!
Patrick Davis is a talented performer. He's a prolific writer, travels quite a bit, and likes to be surrounded by his friends. Together they put on a great show with humorous jabs and banter between songs. It's evident these Songwriters in Paradise love being part of these SIP shows in Napa and Healdsburg.
Yeah, which two of my favorite places on earth.
Yeah. You also hit Cabo San Lucas, too, during the year, and that's got to be a fun spot.
Yeah, that is definitely not a bad place to be. We this year, the dates are actually going to be the week before Thanksgiving. And I always say that November, December time down in Cabo is kind of just magical. So it's always a blessing whenever we get to go to any of the Songwriters in Paradise locations are pretty special in their own respect.
Yeah, no doubt. Plus, you're with your friends. I mean, you told me last year that musician and songwriter friends are always on the road at various times and don't get a chance to see each other that often. So SIP presents a way for you to spend a few days together.
Yeah, that's a really big component. That's how Songwriters in Paradise essentially started with that. That was the whole, genesis of the idea, was just how do I get to hang out with my friends who I don't really get to see that often. And as a touring entity myself and being able to play everywhere, I meet a lot of people, and I kind of have this entrepreneurial spirit as well. And I said, you know what, I'd like to try to start something up that allows for me and my buddies to still play music, maybe make enough money to pay some rent, and also get to hang out together in a cool location. So that's kind of how SIP began.
That was a good foundation then. Sure.
Yeah. It definitely does. It beats quite a few other gigs I've had, I can promise you that.
Yeah. And we all get to benefit over here, and you really enjoy playing some of the smaller family-run wineries to a crowd of no more than maybe 200 people. One good example is Silver Oak over in Napa. You're friends with David Duncan, the owner, but we forget that Silver Oak is still a small family operation, even though they have a large reputation, and that's a great place for you guys to put on a show and enjoy entertaining for some good people.
Yeah. It is kind of funny. There's a number of the wineries that are kind of, if not household names, at least, many folks in the U.S. and beyond know of them, and Silver Oak being one of those really, really established brands. But it's still, a lot of the folks that work there have worked there for 30, 40 years. David and the Duncan family have had it forever, and it's a small operation to the point where, they close the tasting room at I don't know, 5 or 5:30 the day of SIP, and then we're all hands on deck. There's like 20 people that are working in the tasting room, and those guys and myself and some of the SIP crew are helping set up the room. It's not some huge, Major League Baseball organization. It's not the New York Yankees. It may seem like it when you hear the name, but it's still a very small boutique operation, which I think is what makes the Napa area and the Sonoma area so special, is that a lot of those places are still just family run. It's nothing against the big conglomerates. I do have a number of those guys that I'm friends with as well, but it's still a small group of farmers that just happen to grow something that people really, really like.
Right. And they're so approachable and so nice to be friendly with. Yeah, it's very, very, very just, you can, what's really funny about, SIP Napa, you can be in the audience at SIP Napa and for the most part, if they're in town, most of the winery owners, the vintners and the winemakers, they're all at the events as well, but you might not even know it. They're just, they've got a light jacket on and they're got blue jeans on and they're sitting there drinking their wine and, you have no clue that you're beside David Duncan. You have to, he'll be, hey, what's your name? And he'll be like, my name's David. What do you do? Well, this is my place. Yeah, no doubt. And that's a great thing about the guys you hook up with. These guys and gals are talented writers and musicians and award winners, but you may not know their name.
Yeah, and that's I think that's part of the appeal of SIP, I believe, for the attendees, is this backstage access that you really do get. With it's not necessarily hanging out with Dave Grohl or or Eddie Vedder, right. But at the same time you're definitely around some incredibly talented world-renowned entertainers in their own respect. Maybe they're songwriters behind the scenes, or maybe some of them are actually the artists, and many of them win Grammys and things, but they might not be the guys that are. It's not, like I said, it's not Dave Matthews or Kenny Chesney. But you're still getting access to them in such a unique way. That you just can't get at almost any other event. That's I always say SIP is one of the most exclusive music festivals in the world, and I mean that. And I don't mean that Paul McCartney's playing. I just mean that you're going to get world-class talent that is, has had incredible success, and you're not just going to see them on stage. You're actually going to get the opportunity to talk to them after the show, before the show. If you're staying at Harvest Inn with us in Napa, after the show, you're going to be hanging out with us on the front porch, probably having cigars and drinking wine and maybe passing around a guitar, and that's just not the norm for any performance that you usually go to. Even if you have a VIP or a backstage pass for a meet and greet, that meet and greet usually lasts about 10 or 15 seconds.
No kidding. Yeah.
And so it's a lot different. So that's the idea.
And it's very likely you're going to find an artist that you gravitate to, and before you know it, you have a new favorite artist.
Yeah, I find that's one of the things that really makes me the proudest of the SIP. I get asked all the time, how do you become a performer at the SIPs, and I just say, well, it's really just my buddies. That's pretty much it. Unless you come highly vetted, and one of the guys in the SIP family says you got to have so and so, and that does happen from time to time. But most of the folks are just my friends, and so it's really a great feeling to watch attendees fall in love with some of my people that I've always known were super talented and deserve the world. And some of them are kind of still flying a little under the radar. It's really awesome to see. Someone just fall in love with a Channing Wilson or Mark Broussard, who's not really under the radar, but someone that's just like, oh my God, my new favorite artist. They'll send me a text message with a screenshot of a Apple Music or Spotify playlist, and they're listening to that, like I said, the Django Walker or Channing Wilson station. That there's nothing better for me to receive than that.
I see what look like some new faces for this year, and one that stands out to me is Chris Stills.
Yeah. Chris is coming to, I don't know, is he coming to, he's not coming to Napa. Chris is definitely, I think we're trying to get him to come to Healdsburg. He usually comes to Cabo. His schedule usually allows for that. Chris is Stephen Still's son.
Yeah.
So he's definitely in the SIP family. But he's, his mom is world, renowned in her own right. Maybe not quite as across the globe as Stephen Stills, of course, but his mom is Veronica. I cannot remember how to pronounce her last name, but she is a superstar in France. I mean, like literally sells out arenas, and still is a 70-something-year-old, and so it's pretty extraordinary too to hear Chris when he plays. I remember the first time I had him come to Cabo, and he played "Love the One You're With" one night, and It was, if you closed your eyes, you were like, that is Stephen Stills in 1972 singing that. It was just, extraordinary, and some of his stories are wonderful. If you ever get to meet him, you can pick his brain a little bit. But one of my favorites is he didn't know how to play guitar, and the first guitar he picked up in his house was just in the corner, and he picked it up and he strummed it, and he learned how to play that guitar, and it was actually tuned specifically for Sweet Blue July. His dad only had that guitar in the house specifically for that song. And he's like, I didn't know, that's just a guitar I picked up. So he plays in all these crazy open tunings, and the apple definitely doesn't fall far from the tree when it comes to talent with his mom and his dad, both extraordinary. So Chris is quite a character and quite a musician.
And what about this woman I saw last year, Lauren Jenkins? Is that gal going to be with you again?
Well, yeah, she is always with me. She's actually here right now. She is my lovely wife, but she's an incredible artist, and she's actually working on a new album with another one of our SIP performers, Christian Bush, is producing. He's from Sugarland, which is a very successful country act, but he is really making a name for himself as a producer lately, and so Lauren and him are working on an album right now.
Great.
She is I don't just say it because she's my wife, but she has one of the most beautiful voices I've ever heard, and she's just really a real true artist. So they're working on an album now that I think should move some needles. She just did a tour in Europe in December. In January with another one of our SIP artists who will be in Napa is Eric Pasley, who has had a really lot of good luck in the Nashville scene, and so yeah, I'm proud of Lauren, and I can't wait to hear what comes next. But she always is a fan favorite in any of the SIPs.
Great, yeah. Well, one thing that's really special is SIP has donated over $1 million to local charities. So those listening, if you're thinking about buying a ticket or 2 or 4, remember you too will be providing support to the local community.
Yeah. SIP is a for-profit organization. My little brother passed away in 2008 in a single car accident. He was drinking and driving, and we wanted to try to bring some good from a pretty tragic situation for our family, and we started a foundation, and that foundation allows for us to raise funds at the events. Basically what we do is we'll auction off lyrics or signed guitars or handwritten lyrics or maybe some signed bottles of wine, and that money we do that at each event to make sure that whether it be Napa or whether it be Healdsburg, they know that we love the area and we respect the fact that we're lucky enough to be there. And we've been able to donate. I let the wineries tell me the places. They're my partners and they know the area. And I say, hey, where do you guys want to do this? And they have their specific charities that we kind of donate through. But we've been lucky enough to donate to the Rutherford Volunteer Fire Department each year, and then we do the Boys and Girls Club in Calistoga and in St. Helena. And so there's a number of outfits in Healdsburg as well. F Foundation and the Humane Society. So it's a great way to give back, and just to make sure that folks know that we recognize that these places are in fact paradise, and they need a little love and support sometimes too.
Sure, yeah. I remember last year when like you said, you were auctioning off song lyrics or guitars or what have you, and it's one of those things. It's kind of like the auctions that both Napa and Sonoma do to raise funds, and starts off maybe a little slow, and then once you start kind of pushing it, then people really get into it, and all kinds of money is raised.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's not. It's not. We're definitely not able to. We're not trying to. Some of the. I go. I'm lucky enough to go to the Naples winter wine auction down in Florida each year, and I think they raised $30 million in an afternoon. We are nowhere close to that right. level, but every little bit helps, and that's really what hopefully we all want to leave the world a little better than we found it. So sure. That's the idea.
Great. The 5th annual Songwriters in Paradise shows will be in Napa Valley, April 18th through 21st, then in the Healdsburg area, July 24th through 27th, and Cabo later this year, like you said, I guess close to Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Well, I think the dates and everything go on sale in a couple weeks. So you guys, if you're looking for something fun to do right around before Thanksgiving, well, come hang out with us.
Yeah, songwritersinparadise.com. And I want to touch upon a couple other things real quick while I have you. I saw that you released some new music recently.
Well, I've put out the process now is very different than when we were younger.
Right.
It's they want you to put out singles kind of consistently. You put out 6, 7, 8 singles, and then you release an album. So I think I'm 5 singles deep into the process of releasing. The album will be released later this year in probably August, September. I have a TV show that I've started, a national show called Southern Songwriters with Patrick Davis.
Nice.
That's going to air across all the American public television and basically PBS stations all across the country. It'll be out in the Bay Area, and that'll happen with a number of the SIP songwriters. I essentially call it it's like a TV show for those folks who love Anthony Bourdain and Austin City Limits. So that's
Nice.
kind of where we
Yeah.
are. And I go to these small towns in the South and talk about the history that that I find interesting. I was a history major, so
great.
at college. So I do that, and then we play a show in a small theater, and it's a really, really nice hour-long show. And so I'm trying to make sure that the album kind of comes out when that happens in August, September of this year. So
Nice.
the full album will be out then. But yeah, you guys go and see some of the singles that have been released. I released a new song a couple weeks ago called Southern Roots.
Southern
which,
Roots, yeah.
As I'm standing on the front porch of my house in South Carolina. I'm very proud of my Southern roots, even though I live in Nashville in South Carolina. So, I just hopefully there's some music out there that any of you folks listening will appreciate. So, and if you don't like me, go check out some of the other other Songwriters in Paradise guys, the SIP family. I promise you'll like somebody.
No doubt, yeah, no doubt. And by the way, I was sorry to hear about you losing a very close friend and collaborator, Jimmy Buffett, last September.
Oh, yeah, bless Jimmy's heart. Jimmy was a very sweet man. He always treated those of us that were lucky enough to be around him very, very well. And he had been sick for, a number of years. We thought that he was on the mend. He was for a while, but the particular type of cancer that he had, has a tendency to come back around, but bless his heart, just such a sweet human, and like I said earlier, the idea is you want to leave the world better than you found it, and he succeeded in that. I mean, like what a
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize how when I found out, I got a text message that he had passed away from one of our mutual friends, and it really hit me kind of hard because I just didn't realize how many moments in my life I had, spent around Jimmy Buffett's music,
Yeah.
So it was kind of an emotional thing, and that's kind of, I think, what's happening with all of our songwriting and musical heroes. There's a lot of them that are passing away. As that's the time keeps marching on.
We're getting older, that's for sure. Yeah,
yeah. If we're lucky, we are.
yeah, right. Well, Patrick, I'm looking forward to seeing you again this year, and I'll give some more information here in just a moment after we end the call. But thanks again for keeping us in mind out here in the West Coast. And
of course, and thank you guys so much for having me, Jeff. And I hope that I will see you in both Napa and Healdsburg. You come over for a night and hang out with us.
You got it. Continued success to you.
Okay, buddy. You too. Bye-bye.
To see some images, the charities they've supported, where the shows will be held this year, and to buy tickets, visit songwritersinparadise.com. If you click on Presented by SIP, you'll see how intimate these gatherings can be by the image taken in the cave at A. Raffinelli Winery in Sonoma County's Dry Creek Valley. My wife and I caught the show at Brasswood in St. Helena last year, and it couldn't have been a more enjoyable evening, highlighted by a full moon on that clear night. Keep your eyes open for the TV show, Southern Songwriters with Patrick Davis, later this summer and fall on PBS. That'll be fun to watch, as well as one of his upcoming shows. Check out songwritersinparadise.com. Today's episode was written, recorded, and produced by me. Please subscribe to On the Wine Road podcast so each episode will automatically appear on your favorite platform. And I appreciate a positive review if that's an option. Find images, wine news, trivia, and more interviews at onthewineroad.us. I'm on Facebook as On the Wine Road and Instagram as JD Wine Road. I'll talk to you again soon as I share more from my travels on the Wine Road.